if I may. Welcome, everyone, to Billy Blake's Bible Blasters, or Talking Bollocks, as we like to usually call it.
What?
I don't know, I was just trying to... I wanted to say something stupid just to start us off, really. Or, I was just messing about.
I have no idea what you just said. Yeah, hey up, folks, you'll have to excuse this one. He's not had his pills today.
No, and neither have I for every day of the week either. Right, anyway.
As always, I am DJ.
And I am Jake.
Yeah, and we are welcoming you to yet another edition of Talking Bollocks.
Oh, bollocks.
Alright, well, as promised, here we are again, and this time around, because last week we were doing OCs, but this time around I wanted to look into something a bit more, bit bigger in that sense, really, something that's been buzzing in my mind for a while, and that is controversy in that sense, really, things that are controversial or infamous in that sense in media or in like books, TV, stuff like that. And I came across this because it's like, what is it about various things that you remember? Like, in that sense, particular scenes or books or whatever, right? Things that are either remembered fondly or, in this case, not fondly in that sense.
About to say, I'm not really sure that things that are remembered fondly would generally be in tonight's discussion, because controversy, or controversy as it's actually pronounced here in England, is prolonged public disagreement or heated discussion.
Yeah, and it's basically, when it comes to that, people are always, it's like, what makes something controversial in that sense? It's kind of like, it has to be pretty bad, to be fair, or something that is quite large in that sense to, you know what I mean, like to really catch people's eye or attention or something.
I don't believe it always has to be bad. It's just rather it has to be something, well, polarizing, I would say. Something that the public who are exposed to it aren't going to agree on.
It has to...
Whether they disagree with the subject matter in question, or it causes them to disagree with each other, that sort of thing.
Well, it works in all sorts of ways. Like in this day and age, anything that's political everything is controversial. Like, if you disagree with this, you're a monster, and if you agree with this, you're an arsehole. It's like anything can become controversial in the right context. But because here on Talking Bollocks we talk about movies and media in general, we're not going to talk about the news or any of that crap. What's the perfect way than talk about some controversial movies? Well, the thing, when I think of controversy, it's like, well, the first time I did this was when I was back in university. It was like, we had to do this report on a particular subject within media. So I chose controversy because I thought, I have a bit of material for this, and I started really looking into it and stuff, and, well, it's time for a little bit of a brief history lesson, very brief. Controversial movies in the UK basically started in the 1980s, or even before that. What am I talking about? It's like when they really hit hard was in the 1980s. There was this massive kind of forethought when it came down to it was, you know how in this day and age when they say, think of the children, or something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Basically, back in the 80s, movies and TV shows that were agreed by most people to be very nasty or very violent or something were outright banned. This led to a phrase that a lot of people coined was the video nasty, as it was called. The government, in all their high wisdom, would go around saying, right, that movie is too violent, we're banning it altogether, or something like that. And at the forefront of all this was a woman named Mary Whitehouse, who...
All I can really think of at the moment, why you're trying to think of that, is with people saying, someone please think of the children, the only one I can actually think of saying that is Helen Lovejoy.
Well, something like that, yeah. It's kind of like that, but this time it's actually real. And they would go out, and you know how in today's society they say, oh, video games are making people violent and they're all murderers?
Oh, I've already done a video on this.
Well, basically, it's that, but for movies. So things like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or this other one that I heard is now being sold in Poundland because it's shit. It's called The Driller Killer or something like that. And basically they said, oh, if these kids watch that, it'll scar them, they'll become murderers and all this, that and the other. So they just went outright and banned nearly everything.
That's what the BBFC is for.
Well, out of that came the BBFC, you see. Because this was before the rating system was invented, so basically out of that, BBFC came out and they were like, right, with us around, we'll judge how this is rated and how it can be distributed. So every movie or any TV show has to go through the BBFC first before it can be viewed.
It's kind of like with video games, how the hyper-violence of Mortal Kombat brought about the PEGI and ESRB systems.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that level of censorship where people are just being idiots about it, and rather than think about it and rate it properly, they just went, right, just forget it. It's going to cause all this shit. Get rid of it now. I guess in this day and age, censorship has kind of relaxed in that sense, but it's still needed in other senses. Mm-hmm. I mean, do we even need to get on to the 90s, for example, like with cartoons and stuff, things like Ren and Stimpy. Like
Ren and Stimpy got away with so much.
That's my point. It's like, it's kind of like with controversial material, it's like, it needs that censorship, but at the same time, if they work around it, it actually ends up becoming better than what it would be without it.
Yeah, and oh my god, I just have to mention, how much did Animaniacs get away with? Animaniacs was absolutely fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. Do I even need the Prince joke? I've seen that one.
I was thinking the Prince joke.
Oh, that is fantastic, mate, that one.
You mean the fingerprints joke, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like, what was it? I found prints. No, fingerprints. And I don't think so.
That just looks at Prince like, yeah, no. Yeah, one of my favourites as a kid, like, you know Dr. Scratch and Sniff?
Oh, yes.
Of course he's got, for some, like, narcissistic thing, he's got a marble bust statue of himself on his desk.
Yeah.
The Warner Brothers and sister, because we can't forget Dot. Anyway, they start like chucking his statue around and catching it, sort of like playing keep away, and of course, good old Dr. Scratch and Sniff comes out with, "Stop playing with my bust!"
Oh god, that's actually pretty good. Well.
Oh,
I'm
so
sure,
brilliant.
And through, I reckon now Lisa's just going to pop up, just like that, pretty much.
Oh, yeah, Jake's trying to predict Lisa's movements.
It's a little game I'm going to try and invent for myself on here, but
with us making boob jokes, she won't be too far behind.
With controversy, I'm kind of going to delve into a little bit of the dark side of it in some sense, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
it's not
you
all
worked
good,
on it for uni, so I'm pretty sure you can take the rails on this one.
Well, I will do, and I'll try and keep it as brief as I can. But because I'm kind of the movie man, I watch a lot of movies. Like I try to anyway. And the one I had to do 3 of them for this report I had to do in uni. And when I was looking through the listings of various things, I was like, right, which ones can I make a lot of material on? So I chose 3. One being... go on. Yeah, you're going to need it, trust me.
Carry on.
Right. Anyway, I chose 3. So we had the Last Temptation of Christ, which I only got halfway through because it was one of those where I'm just like, oh my god, I just can't do this. So I pushed myself to watch it and I just couldn't get through it.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to Norm of the North, how bad was it?
It wasn't that bad. It's just that, you know when you try to force yourself to do something and it's like, I just cannot do this. I got through half of it and I'm just like, I need to take a break.
That usually means it's bad.
Well, it weren't bad. It was just, I mean, if anyone's a fan of it, fine, and if anyone's religious, I'm sorry to say, but it was boring. Like, I really couldn't, I had to go, I only went through half of it and I'm just like, I'm done. I need a break. I just can't keep going. And it was just like, I'll come back to this, and I just never did. It didn't affect the report at all, but it was one of them that I was really pushing myself to watch, and it was like, I just can't today. Right, second movie I watched was A Clockwork Orange. And I don't think that really needs that much of an intro, because, have you heard of it? A Clockwork Orange.
I know of it, I've not seen it.
Well, let's put it this way, it's an artistically beautiful film in that sense, but oh my god, is this one a rough ride. It is heavy. Like, this movie kicks you in the balls and keeps you on the floor, pretty much, kind of heavy. It's like, the whole idea is, it's kind of a question of free will, where it's like, even if you have the most evil person imaginable, like, we're talking, not even Hitler, we're talking more, this guy, his name is Alex, and he is like the worst person you could ever meet. Like, he will attack you in the street, he'll beat drunks, he'll beat people in the street, he'll rape, he'll rob, he'll do anything, really. Anything that's horrible. Like, he enjoys every minute of it, right?
This guy sounds worse than a Hanzo, mate.
Well, something like that, if you want to look at him like that. Hanzo has become Alex from A Clockwork Orange, or the other way round.
Quick disclaimer for any Hanzo players listening. I'm sorry, but if you don't want to be made fun of, you should have picked Mercy.
Everyone
should have picked any kind of support.
We need mercy. We need more mercy. Hashtag more mercy, please.
I couldn't resist.
Exactly. Anyway, this was adapted from a novel that was written in 1962 by Anthony Burgess. And it's really, really nasty. Like, we're talking, this movie makes you uncomfortable in a lot of places. And worst of all, the rape scene. The big one itself, where, how to describe this without really getting into too much detail. Basically, a woman is raped, and Alex sings I'm Singing in the Rain while he's doing it. And this scene is the worst one ever made, because it's like, it's beautiful, beautifully crafted, but fucking hell, it's horrible at the same time. I'll give you a quick brief thoughts of it. Basically, Alex and his gang of, as he likes to call them, droogs. Yeah, don't ask me why they're called droogs, they're just called droogs. They basically go on this massive spree, and through it, they end up breaking into this guy's house by claiming that they need an ambulance or something. Someone's had a crash or something. And as soon as they get in there, they attack the couple, as in this writer and his wife, knock him to the floor and all this, that and the other, strip her naked, and through it all, Alex is there just singing I'm Singing in the Rain at top of his lungs, beating the shit out of this guy and going for it. And this scene in itself is so traumatic that nobody dares even listen to I'm Singing in the Rain anymore. Like, literally, they won't. And it's like, wow, that is pretty harsh, mate. That is...
I wonder if Alex is, like, singing so loudly to sort of try and dissociate himself from all the crap that he's doing.
Well...
Like, if he doesn't sing, then, God forbid, he might actually have a change of thought and start to become a decent human being and be like, wait, no, this is wrong, I should stop this.
Well, you'd like to think that, but no. Basically, the whole idea is that, like the title, it's a contradiction. It's like, this horrible act is happening, whereas he's just kind of like in La La Land singing the happiest song in the world, in that sense, kind of corrupting it, as people like to point out. And it's like, yeah, I can see that being the case, but thankfully, though, halfway through, he is arrested after he basically murders a woman with a dick sculpture. I'm not fucking lying. It's such a bizarre scene, but he kills a woman with a dick sculpture, smashes her in the mouth with it. I'm not kidding. It's like, it's horrible to laugh at, I know, but just that scene itself is so freaking stupid that it's like, wow.
Well, sometimes laughter is a panic response. I mean,
Well,
just look at what happens when you get tickled.
Yeah, true. But through it all, he gets arrested, but then he's put under this new this government experiment where they actively brainwash him into becoming a good person as they see it. So suddenly he is like the model person, like the model human that you could ever get. He is sickened by any sexual acts, he's sickened by violence and all this, that and the other. Through it all, though, the people whose lives he has basically ruined, including his own parents, they basically everyone turns their back on him. So it's kind of like...
It's not surprising.
Well, not surprising, but at the same time, people point out that is it right to actively brainwash people into what you consider being good, rather than let them have their free will? It's kind of like that kind of question, in a way. It's kind of...
Yeah, it's like, on one hand, in so many other contexts, it would be wrong to brainwash somebody into what you think is the perfect person.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I think Alex basically lost his right to free will when he decided to make people's lives such big bags of misery and end people's lives and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
it's one of those things where it's like, it is a tough question in that sense, because is it right at the end of the day? And the movie itself, it ends with him not dying, but getting badly injured and that. I can't really give any spoilers because, well, if you're interested in watching it, then good luck on your part. But anyway, really, though, it is just a question of morality, kind of that, the juxtaposition, I think is the word. It's a juxtaposition of these two sides, and it's like, right, okay, fair enough.
It's like, okay, for example, I can basically just walk around anywhere. I mean, besides going onto private property without invitation or stuff like that, it's like within reason, but that is a basic human right that I can just walk around and be free. But if I commit a crime, then I expect that I'll be arrested and taken to jail. It's like, yeah, if you kill somebody, it's like, okay, maybe that would just be given life imprisonment. And make it actually mean life. Don't let them out in 5 fucking years on good smegging behaviour.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you go around, like, directly killing loads of people, then you should get the chair.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of things to that. Like, a similar quote that I think of when you mentioned that was from Batman Arkham City. At the end, the Bat thinks to himself whether to save the Joker or not. I mean, I'm not giving any spoilers, but he mentions, if I save you here and lock you away, you'll just break out and do it again. And it's like, this it's just an endless loop. It's like he could have just finished it right there and then, but at the same time, he claims to not kill, so... But also, I have another thing on that once I remember
before
it.
Before you do this sort of thing, I'm going to add something to Batman and the Joker.
Yeah.
If Batman were to kill the Joker and end the cycle once and for all, Batman will be losing a major part of himself.
Well, there you are, you see.
I think this whole thing between Batman and the Joker is as much of a game to the Bat as it is the Joker.
Yeah, a lot of people claim that as well. That's why he won't finish it.
Just look at how the Killing Joke went.
Oh, God, the Killing Joke. Yeah, true, that. It is like a game in that sense. And I've got another part on that, on the...
Something I just thought.
Go on.
Maybe it is a much bigger game to the Joker. If Batman gives in and kills him, Joker wins.
Exactly.
And he knows that.
But
anyway, should we try and reel the subject back in?
All right. I've got another. I've got one more movie, and you opened that can earlier. You might want to get another one for this one because, This one, this movie, man. Yeah, exactly. Go on then. I'll tell you in a second. But I had another anecdote about what was that?
So we're keeping all this in, right?
Well, if you like, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, exactly. Just listen to the broad silence, everybody. I mean, but the best way I could describe,
Smeggy now.
I'm trying to think. Come on back through, and I'll get into it. I don't know how to really describe this next one because this one is the bane of my existence. This is.
So it's that Batman movie where you bring Bane in?
Pretty much. It's like, what, shall I describe it like him? Just like, yes, this movie is the worst one that I could ever imagine, but no, I'm not going to talk like that, but...
Please don't.
Yeah, exactly. But, being serious though, this is, without a doubt, the worst movie I have ever watched, but... I describe it as so bad it's good, but not in a funny, ha-ha kind of lovable way. This is the one that... This one nearly broke me, in that sense, really.
So, in what way is it so bad it's good, then?
Because it's shot so horrifically and realistically that it's masterful, but horrible to watch. Like, this movie, you don't watch it for entertainment. You don't watch it to analyse it. You watch this because you're looking at something that ultimately will help you grow as a person, but it's like, right, what am I talking about? Right, basically, this movie is an Italian gore movie that was made in 1980 called Cannibal Holocaust.
Another one I know of but haven't seen.
Well, you'll be happy to know I own the thing, and I loathe it beyond all belief. I own it because it's kind of right. The best way I could describe this one is it is a milestone. A very big milestone in terms of filmmaking and projection. But in every way possible, this movie is horrific. And you know how you tell me about Saw and stuff like that? You know, how it's fiendish and it can get gory if need be and stuff like that. This one...
Well, I say if need be. They can be quite generous with the gore.
Well, this one is unbelievably generous with the gore, but you will throw up. Like, this one is that bad. This isn't like, oh, it's just a little bit of blood or a bit, someone's arm has come off. No. This one, in some respects, is actually quite real. Like, okay, where do I start with this? Right. Basically, this was an Italian horror movie made by, let me just check my notes. Ruggero Deodato.
Ruggero Deodato?
There you go.
I probably butchered that. I apologise.
Yeah, I butchered it several times.
There was part of me that just wanted to say rugged potato.
Well,
I apologise for that too.
So anyway, Mr. Potato here in...
I
know. I couldn't resist.
I just apologise for that.
Right,
Come
anyway,
on. Let's just call it Mr. Potato Head.
I was going to say Mr. Potato
This
Head.
isn't Toy Story.
Toy Story has become gory.
Oh, if word gets out, you will not have a friend in him.
Oh.
I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, we need...
terrible.
Trust me, we need all the
I am
jokes
being
we can
controversial.
get. We need all the jokes we can get for this one, because...
That wasn't like that.
Anyway, this one is like... start off with, it raises the question, who is the real savage, right? At the end, it basically asks, right, who is the real savage here? Because the story is, a bunch of documentarians... They go to...
I think documentarians kind of sounds right.
Alright. Anyway, they end up going to the tropical rainforest and end up finding one of the tribes there. A month goes past, nobody hears about the crew whatsoever, so this university professor decides to go out there and have a look what happened. He goes and has a look, and all the tribes are terrified of him or are planning to get at him, like they're being very hostile. It's like, what's happened? Till he comes across a load of corpses tied together and stuff like that, and in between it all are the the movie reels, and through it he manages to trade with them to get the movie reels back. He goes home and checks all the footage. These people are monsters. The people who went out there, they are the worst people, worse than Alex from A Clockwork Orange almost. Because
real?
They go out of their way to basically torture, humiliate, attack, rape as well, these people. And through it all, all four of them get murdered in the most brutal of ways. And it does get filmed by whoever's still there. And finally, it's like, oh my god, this is bad. But it gets even worse because
What are you saying? How can it get worse?
Well, that was just in front of camera. Behind the camera, it's worse than that because, first off, the director was one of the most unlikable people you could imagine. Like, he wanted to make the nastiest movie imaginable, so he would basically, on days on end, he would either forget to pay or not pay the actors whatsoever when filming, and have constant arguments with both cast and crew.
Oh shit! I thought you were referring to like being on and off camera, still being within the film.
No.
This is real life, isn't it?
Yeah, this is real life. But it got so bad. Some of the effects were so bad for even 1980 that the director was actually arrested for first-degree manslaughter, right? He got arrested and was charged in court. However, he had to call in the actors, crew, and everyone else and perform certain different parts of the special effects just to prove that he hadn't actually murdered anybody. It's really... That is, like, holy shit, like...
Okay, that sounds horrific, but at the same time, there's a part of me that's thinking, holy shit, that has got to be some proper realistic SFX.
Well, one of them is, the most famous one is basically of a woman impaled on this massive pike, right? But the thing is, in the movie, it looks fantastic. Like, literally, she's there, like, naked, and it looks like the whole thing has gone literally through her altogether. Like, we're not talking just through the chest, we're talking from the ass all the way up through the mouth, kind of thing. Like, it's fantastic to look at, but when I found out how they did that, I'm just like, that is impressive. Like, she literally had to sit on this tiny little, it was like a little tiny bicycle seat between the legs, and actually have to balance this massive stick or something in her mouth, or however it was, upward. And it's like, wow, that is impressive for literally no budget. Like, literally no budget near on. That is fantastic, but disgusting at the same time. But that is only a taster of what else this movie had up its sleeve as well. And judging by your expression, you're already pretty horrified as it is.
It sounds like there is a lot of shit in these three films that quite a lot of the public would disagree with.
Well...
Oh, wow, especially that last one.
Well, it's not free. It cost me like 17 quid on Amazon, believe it or not, to get the DVD.
I mean free as in more than 2, less than 4.
Oh, fair enough. But this is what really, really angers me about this movie is... I get how realistic it is, but wow, it is one of them that you don't ever, ever want to recreate in any way, shape or form. Because those were the special effects. This is near unreal coming up, right? Next one.
Oh no.
Yeah. Right. First off, they didn't have that many extras. So what they did was they actually got they got a load of extras from the local town or whatever. But a good number of them were real tribespeople, right, who had no experience, no idea what was going on, couldn't speak their language. So they had them doing all this dangerous stuff. Like, for example, in one scene, a hut is burnt down with a lot of the extras inside. Not really, but they managed to get out. But it was a straw hut that they had built. And in the movie, these documentarians basically all heard these people inside and set it going. And bear in mind, a lot of them weren't actually extras, they were real. So everyone is obviously rushing out as quickly as possible. Some managed to get away with just a little burns and stuff like that. It weren't that bad.
I don't
But
know where this is going.
that is terrifying. Like, holy shit, that was bad. And best of all, the director didn't pay them either. So what a twat, honestly. The guy
They
is...
risked their lives. Quite a few of them most likely got pretty bad burns, and they weren't paid a thing?
Not at all. This is why... And this movie, as I've said, this movie really is one of them that really angers me in every way, shape and form. Like, ugh.
Okay, I just have to say this. Rugged Potato, or however you pronounce your
Mr.
name,
Potato,
because
mate.
you know what? I don't give a damn anymore.
Go on.
You're a monster.
And the final thing, which... This might get cut out, to be fair.
Oh, God, there's more?
There's only one more that I can think of. Let me just check, hold up.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's more to this madness.
There's only one more, and this is the worst one of them all. Like, give me a second, actually. I need to actually... Because I need a minute just to... Because this one really fucks me off. I'm not kidding. I'm literally stood up right now. Just give me a second.
Okay, yeah.
Give me a second.
When Jake stands up and moves away from the mic and starts pacing around like this, you know that what's going to come out of his mouth next is going to be pretty bad.
Like,
So let me tell you, folks, I do not regret getting this extra can. In fact, I'm probably going to cut... I know I'm going to cut out the first can opening because it's not meant to be part of the podcast,
Well,
but
this one. What I did was, I didn't do that just for effect. It was gone.
Proceed.
Right. I didn't just do that just for shits and giggles. This one, what I'm about to tell you, fucks me off so badly when I think of this movie. Right.
There's going to be a lot of shit.
During production, all on screen, might I add, several animals were actually slaughtered on screen.
What?
I shit you not, because the director wanted to make this even more realistic. He went and said, right, get that, whatever it is, the turtle. Get that turtle, eat it. We're going to film it.
What?
No fucking lie. During this movie, not just a turtle, but several animals, might I add. But what the biggest one was a turtle. Like an actual real turtle was pulled out and slaughtered on screen. People were throwing up, effing and blinding. People were crying, obviously, and stuff like that. Not even just the actors, but the crew as well. Numerous animals were actually killed on screen. I'm not making this up. This is not a joke. This is not me trying to be edgy. This actually happened on screen. I'm not fucking joking. And how they do it is, and they show every detail, might I add. They really show every detail. This fucks me off even to this day to even think that I've actually seen that. And it's like, wow, this movie, man. There's never going to be another one like it, and thank Christ for it, because, oh my God, I detest this movie.
Let me get this straight.
And bear in mind...
Go on. Let me just get something straight here.
Go on.
This director used it with... He gets these special effects with pretty much no budget to show people supposedly dying in such a way that it actually convinces people that others have died, so he gets brought into court for manslaughter.
Yeah.
He's got all of that, and yet when it comes to the animals, he actually has them killed?
Yes. I shit you not. This guy he said, right, and I quote, well, I'm not quoting, but in a lot of articles, he said that back then, he thought of it like, oh, people eat meat all the time, now I'm just going to show you how it's done. But it's like, wow, that is some right callousness for your audience, I'll give you that. And he wasn't
like killing animals to eat them. He was killing and torturing them for his fucking film.
Well, to be
Remember
fair,
what I said about the death penalty?
To be fair, there is one defense I can give in this. He said this, they did actually eat them because they are in the jungle. He said, right, basically you're in the jungle, you've got to survive. So I get the reason why he said that, he had it done, but to film it and everything else is the most... I hate it. Like, wow, I'm an animal lover, bear in mind, and so are you. So this fucks me off just to even think about. I'm not kidding.
I don't mean to sound presumptuous, but that just sounds like a cover-up to me.
This director, he says that he's mellowed out, and he says that he regrets making this movie so badly. And
fucking well, best do.
He best do. But I don't know. This guy, I don't know, he just sounded really arrogant in a lot of his things, in a lot of his interviews and that. But yeah, to me, those scenes are the worst. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously all the slaughter and all this, that and the other of these people and that, it's pretty rough. Let's put it that way. It is shot to look as rough and as nasty as possible. But, the problem with it is not only is it real animal slaughter, but at the same time, it's like they show it in every graphic detail, and it's wow.
There is seriously no need for that.
Not
I
at
want
all.
to shove my size 12 boot so far up this guy's arse that untying my shoelaces will trigger his gag reflex.
But yeah, so I implore everybody who listens to this, please don't watch this movie. Like, I'm not like when we joke around and say with things like Norm at North or the Emoji Movie or something, we joke around, we're like, oh, it's the biggest piece of shit ever, don't watch it. No, with this one, I am actually begging you, please don't watch this movie.
Yeah,
it is fucking horrible.
I'm just gonna say, movies like Northern North, Troll 2, and all the rest of it, yeah they're bullshit. But this right here. This is bull butts.
This is,
bull butts is worse than bullshit. It's like, you get some of this bullshit, yeah, it's fine. It's just a bit of bullshit. You can move past it. Bull butts are where bullshit comes from.
Right, so basically this is...
So, I remember playing this Nintendo DS game called Sprung.
Lighten it up a bit.
One of the characters says... one of the options you can make a character say is, listen... If you sit under a cow's ass, you're going to get crapped on.
I like that.
But, yeah, he's saying if you stay with somebody who is bad for you, then you're going to keep ending up in bad situations.
Yeah.
But I think it links to what I just said, because bull butts are where bullshit comes from. So if you keep going with stuff like this, it's just going to be awful.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I definitely think it is time to lighten things up.
Yeah. Let's talk about more, let's talk about more infamous stuff, but let's try and bring it up a bit, because, trust me, nothing's ever going to get worse than that. But
let's
anyway.
talk about controversial things that aren't so horrific.
Go on.
Let's talk about controversial things that aren't bull butts.
Yeah, let's go. Do you have anything to that, like games, DVDs, or whatever?
Yeah. What about lesbian British time travelers butts?
Oh, right, yeah, Overwatch.
Tracer.
Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned beforehand, like when we mentioned in the OCs one last time, was that the biggest thing about it is Tracer's gay. Full stop. And it's like, yeah, okay, fine. I mean, we don't need to dwell on that. It's like, oh, it's a nice little surprise. There you are.
But the public went all up in arms.
Oh, tell me about it. I read so many articles on that. It's like, who gives a shit? Who cares?
It's like female characters. A lot of female characters can't even exist in media without people having some sort of problem with them.
I know.
I mean, take a look at Lara Croft when Tomb Raider was like absolutely exploding in popularity. Everyone was like, "Oh, she's just a sex symbol for men because you've got like huge, enormous boobs with this tiny waist,
big triangular boobs, might I add."
In the first game, yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, let's not talk about the fact that she's a female protagonist who constantly shows up male characters, doesn't need a sidekick of... It doesn't need a sidekick of any gender. She's got her own friggin' mansion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, in the original Tomb Raider story, her parents were like big snobs and they disowned her because she preferred adventuring. So she's been disowned and yet she's still got her own bloody mansion. She's definitely made a name for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she can easily, athletically jump over all these hazards, push massive boulders, climb pretty much anywhere she wants. It's clear that she knows how to use every kind of weapon.
Yeah.
And here's something that Lara Croft has done that I'm pretty sure not even her developers had any intention of doing.
Go on.
When I played Tomb Raider as a kid, Lara Croft inadvertently taught me how to swim.
Oh, okay.
I was never very good at swimming as a kid.
Yeah.
But then I played Tomb Raider with its third-person view, like you basically always see the back of Lara.
Mm-hmm. In more ways than one. I'm joking.
So, of course, when you jump into a body of water, you watch her swimming.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, what if I emulate the actions that Lara does when she's in the water? And that helped me to swim a lot better than ever.
Well, there you are, you know what I mean? So, what it really is, so it's like they say all video games are evil. I'll say this, well, we have an example of one that taught someone how to swim, a useful skill, so what have you got to say about that, people?
And it wasn't even an edutainment game.
Not at all. It was more of a bang bang you're dead kind of game. Nah, I'm joking. With a bit more exploration in there. Pure exploration.
I know, it's just like really great how sometimes games can teach you lessons that they don't even intend to teach.
Exactly. And it also gives you more inspiration. Like, as I've said before, I'm quite a fan of, like, things like Rayman, and Medieval.
Yeah, we're not talking about the guy who's great at counting cards who just happens to have autism. We're talking about this bloke who has
no arms or legs.
Yeah, he's completely limbless. He's got these floating arms and legs. Rayman can really throw a punch.
Yeah, it's like
literally.
It's a French developed game, and yeah, I just love the art style. The art style is simple yet cartoony and really colourful and that, and I just love how it looks in that sense. You know what I mean? And I don't know, people. It's like, well, we're gaming nowadays because it touches a lot of people in that sense. It's like developers have to work a lot harder in that sense, so that's always a good thing. It was like, I mean, you wouldn't get these kind of lessons from games like, you know, back in the day, like Super Mario Brothers or something like that, but.
I don't know. Super Mario Bros. Taught me not to trust mushrooms.
Point taken. It kept you off drugs, man. Anyway, I'm just going to nip to though. I'll just be a second.
Well,
you keep going.
Okay, I will. Of course, there were super mushrooms, which back in the day were called magic mushrooms, that acted as a power-up for Mario. But when you think about it, the Goombas, or Koribos as they're called in Japan, are also mushrooms. They are fungus people that betrayed the Mushroom Kingdom. And they hurt you. Then you've got Super Mario Bros. 2, which introduces the poison mushroom, which looks very similar to the magic mushroom. So you run over to it thinking, ooh, I'm going to become Super Mario. But instead you take a hit. And because you're usually Tiny Mario when you get one of these, you lose a life. So, yeah.
Kills you right there and then. So, kids, stay off magical mushrooms. It's never a good idea.
Never did like mushrooms.
I like them on pizza, though.
Nah, I just don't like them at all.
Alright.
Like, the first and only time I tried them, it was like fried breaded mushrooms.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I tell you, if being coated in breadcrumbs and fried can't make a food taste good, then it's a lost cause.
Well, because time's ticking away, shall we move on to another topic of kind of controversial, kind of detail.
Yeah, please do.
Infamy, in that sense. Infamous kind of stuff. Like, things that are remembered not fondly, but seem to creep into your head somehow in that way. It's like, things like that, obviously, like cartoons and movies and stuff. There's always something that creeps into your head and just stays there.
The plot twist of Star Ocean till the end of time?
Go on. You'll have to explain, because I've never touched Star Ocean.
Oh, it is an amazing series, but...
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be spoilers. Fight me.
Go on.
But, yeah. You basically play through Star Ocean 3, going through your adventures, and suddenly, at some point in the game, this big red beam of light shoots out of nowhere and fries a good chunk of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And then it turns out you have to travel to 4D space in order to fight off the enemies that are causing this. And it turns out that 4D space is the real world. And the characters that you have been playing as throughout the game and throughout the entire Star Ocean series are nothing more than characters in an MMORPG.
Right, so it's a fourth wall breaker.
Yeah, it's like, the thing is, people absolutely hated it. Because they were just like, oh, well, that means that the entire game has no purpose. We've just been... These people have just been characters in the game. And I've just been sat there like, yeah, so what else is new? I mean, you play as Super Mario, he goes to save the princess from Bowser, but...
Numerous times.
And there has been there's been like a time or two when Peach has fought back, but not as often as Daisy. Daisy takes no shit.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? They're just characters in the game.
Yeah, I think it's the whole, like, suspension of disbelief thing, I guess.
Play as Sonic saving Mobius or Earth or wherever they live in whatever continuity from Dr. Ivo Ekmanovich Robotnik.
Robotnik!
But no, they're just characters in the game.
Yeah.
And what about saving the entire friggin' world countless times as Solid Snake?
Oh, yeah.
Snake's just a character!
Don't you mean Princess Snake? From Dragon Ball Z Abridged?
Man.
No, I'm joking.
Now you're mixing fiction with fiction?
Well, sorry, it's just because I'm on a massive Dragon Ball Z high at the moment, so...
I'm just saying, the point is...
Yeah.
For some reason, this plot twist caused so much controversy, everybody getting pissed off at this apparently controversial plot twist that is the plot twist of literally every game ever. I am pretty sure I am not the only person that's come to this conclusion. I mean, it's a statistical impossibility. There must be somebody else. I'm unique, but I'm not that unique.
Well, yeah, and it's like, with those kind of, in that infamy, it's kind of like, it's well remembered because of it. And it's like, in that sense, it's kind of like, in a lot of ways, if something infamous does come up, then it actually is more remembered than the actual product in that way. It's like for example, like, I'm going to get into this now. It's like, basically, I am a fan of all sorts of, like, obviously, like, I love animated movies. Like, maybe not Disney, but I need to watch more Disney stuff, really. I've not watched them in years, but I like...
Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph's fantastic, but what I mean is more traditional-based animation, like...
Lion King!
Lion King, of course. Beauty and the Beast, too, come on. I mean, everyone loves a bit of
No.
What?
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Fuck Beauty and the Beast 2.
Oh, yeah, true. Mind you, that Christmas...
I know that's not what you meant, but I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: the Christmas special has has Tim Curry in it. So come on, it's not all bad. The Christmas one, what was it called?
Okay. A lot more stuff needs Tim Curry.
Yeah, everything.
Oh
needs Tim Curry.
my God, Tommy Wiseau teaming up with Tim Curry. That would be the tits.
That would be actually terrifying. I'm not joking. That would be terrifying.
No, but
And sexy as well.
that would be the kind of terror that would get tickets paid for and asses in seats.
That is true. Anyway, but yeah, more traditional based animation. I love that kind of stuff, like stop motion. Absolutely love it. I think it's a beautiful art form, but maybe not art form, but it's beautiful, and it definitely deserves a lot more praise and a lot more attention than what does get in this mainstream. But this point brings me on to a movie that I had no idea about. Right, never knew the title, never knew anything, but through watching various videos on YouTube, I found out what it was. Have you ever heard of a movie called The Adventures of Mark Twain? I mean, before I told you about it. Yeah. Right.
Okay, well, especially if this belief is out of the window. I knew of it before you showed me The Mysterious Stranger, and I had seen that clip too.
Alright. Basically, it is a 1985 claymation movie that took 3 years to do.
Whoa, 1985?
Yeah.
Holy shit, it's as old as I am!
Jeez. Happy birthday. You're as old as this movie. Huzzah.
Well, my birthday's not till July.
Alright, well, anyway, basically, so it took 3 years to do, and it's based upon the numerous books by Mark Twain, and whoever's not heard of Mark Twain, he was the author of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, right? But the thing about him was he was a very, very cynical bloke. Like, we're talking massively cynical about everything, including, like, life in general, the people that he met, religion, that was a big one. He basically, he was Mr. Cynical about everything. And he wrote in a lot of stories and everything about how he thought of things, how he thought things worked and that. But most interesting of all, he was born when Halley's Comet first showed up around the Earth, like when it first hit, right? I can't remember the year, but when Halley's Comet first came round, and he died again when it came around again. He was determined, he basically said that he came in with Halley's Comet and he was determined to go out with it when it showed up. And
that is fascinating.
And on that night, exactly, I think 70 years or so, he died when Halley's Comet showed up again. So, the basic premise of this movie is that Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, along with their friend not Becky Thatcher, I can't remember her name, but I think it's Becky, I can't remember. Anyway, they sneak aboard this massive ship that he's created, this huge hot air balloon like ship, in a sense, like an airship in a sense. And the whole ship is essentially Mark Twain's universe. Like, it's a homage to everything that he's ever written. And on this ship is this thing called the Indexinator, which is like a lift or an elevator. And every time you pull the switch, it'll take you to one of his books. In a sense, it's basically like, think of it like Doctor Who's TARDIS in that sense, like condensed into an airship. Basically, anywhere it goes to Mark Twain's work. Now, what's all this got to do with Infamy? Right. During this movie, a particular scene happens where the kids have kind of screwed Mark Twain over a little bit, because the whole point of this journey is that they're going after Halley's Comet. Well, Mark Twain is, pretty much. He's going after it because he said that he came in, he's going out with it kind of thing. So the whole point is they're trying to catch up with Halley's Comet. Anyway, the kids kind of screw him over a little bit at this one point. Like, they fuck up kind of royally. Like, the ship ends up getting pretty damaged during a storm or something. And through their depression, another Mark Twain shows up. And he's even more cynical and even more, like, down... Well, not even down to earth, more depressing than ever. And he basically flips the switch in the Indexinator and comes down to this thing called the Mysterious Stranger. Now, for those who don't know what this movie is, but you'll know this clip, if you go on YouTube and look up top 10 creepy kids show characters or characters in movies, the Mysterious Stranger is usually number 1 or number 2 in some respects. Because this scene comes the fuck out of nowhere and is absolutely fucking terrifying if you don't know what to expect in that sense.
And from what I've heard, it's never mentioned again. So it's a big-lipped alligator moment!
Exactly. It's a fucking big-lipped alligator moment that just leaves you questioning, what the fuck did all this have to do with the movie? I mean, the whole lot of it is literally like... it's quite cute and colourful and quite creative in some sense. And then this shit just comes right out of nowhere. I'm not fucking lying. It just hits you like a brick. Now... for those who haven't seen the clip, essentially, this thing, whatever it is supposedly the devil. I'm not fucking joking. This thing is supposedly the devil in this universe.
It's the fallen angel, Satan.
Yeah. And they make several references where they say, who are you? And he's just like, an angel. And, oh yeah, what's your name? Satan. And it's like, okay, fair enough.
You say reference, he just comes out and says his name's Satan.
Well, the thing
is... he refers to himself as an angel, and yeah, he was.
Alright, well...
according to Christianity.
Yeah, but anyway, but this whole scene is basically Mark Twain's interpretation of basically the human race in that sense. It's a very deep scene, like, it's very, it talks about how we're not perfect... but in a hierarchy kind of sense, we're nothing, apparently. But the thing that really gets me about this scene is the fact that it's one of those that makes you think. But the thing that really sticks in your head when you think about it is the setting. Because the mysterious stranger himself, the design of him is, imagine a red suit of armour without legs. It just basically goes into the ground. It's like a suit of armour and then it's just dirt and it just goes into the ground, right? And the suit of armour is headless, right? No head whatsoever. But in its right hand, I think, or is it its left hand, it holds a stick. And on top of this stick is like a white theatre mask. Yeah, it's basically a white theatre mask on top of this stick, right? That is its face. So it holds it where its face would actually be. And this face, it can emote, it can transform, and ultimately show expression as well. And that's not creepy enough, but the setting itself is basically this tiny little island that's floating in the middle of this gigantic black void. Like, there's literally nothing out there whatsoever. So... yeah, that's pretty creepy already, but the way it goes on about how life is meaningless and that the human race is just interchangeable, like we're literally just lumps of mud that you could just step on if you wanted to. It just kind of really drills the aspects that life, as it says in the movie, that life's just an illusion. And I get what they're trying to say, but it's one of those that really kind of shocks you the first time you watch it. Like, I have to admit, like, I wasn't in the right mind when I first watched this. Like, a lot of stuff was going on, right? And when I first watched this, it just depressed me even further. Like, I honestly couldn't even look at that character for weeks on end after first watching that. I'm not joking. Like, it's a life lesson or something to get you thinking. It's a philosophical pause. But it's not fun. Let's put it that way. It ain't fun at all to listen to.
Something that... I mean, I saw the clip with you earlier today.
Yeah, we watched it first just before this.
Something that stuck with me is Satan saying that he isn't evil because he has no idea or concept of what evil is.
He has no concept of good or evil.
The thing is, it's like you can still commit evil acts without actually knowing what evil is, but I think Satan's standpoint in The Adventures of Mark Twain sort of fits with my theory on Christianity. I mean, that my personal perspective is, what if neither God nor Satan are good or evil? What if they're just two entities with differing standpoints.
So kind of like, yeah, just two different outlooks on things.
Mm.
I suppose it is a good question. It is really.
It's like, I'm pretty sure that if I were to start reading the Holy Bible, there'd be a lot of people who would praise me for doing so, but if I were to read a corresponding scripture for Satan's side, I would be completely ostracized, ridiculed, and people would be damning me and stuff like that. But I was thinking, what would be so wrong with getting the perspective from both sides?
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, really, it's like, I mean, to be fair, I'm not religious, but I'll listen. Like, I'm not one of these types that's like, oh, you listen to God. Ugh. It's like, I've got friends who are religious, and I will listen. I've even said before, I'm kind of trying to be more philosophical. So I want to listen to a lot of different viewpoints, and I will decide for myself whether one's right for me or not. It's like, I don't need to be told about it. You can tell me, and I'll listen, but I don't need to be told to change my mind on something without any proof or anything else. It's like I've been to with friends and that. I've been to like a religious gathering and stuff, and I'm just like, fair enough. And I listened to what they had to say, and I'm just like, it makes a good point. I like this. You know what I mean? It's nice to sit down. It's nice to be told it rather than be preached at, in a sense. But back to this scene. But it is one of them that people do remember from the movie, but sadly nobody really remembers the movie itself. Like, if I hadn't shown you the clip, would you have known what I was talking about? If I just mentioned, have you seen Adventures of Mark Twain?
I would have said I remember The Mysterious Stranger because I have seen it before.
Yeah. Well,
something I've been thinking about is, you look at the Ten Commandments from God, and I remember reading like a similar commandments section from an online Satanist Bible, just out of curiosity.
Oh, no. Yeah.
It sort of seems to me like both sides have this same philosophy of don't be a dick.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those where I look at them and I think, okay, fair enough. Don't be a dick. Don't be an arsehole. Be a good person.
That is the very simplified thing of it. Although my version would be don't be a knobhead.
Yeah, pretty much. The Yorkshire Bible.
There so needs to be a Yorkshire Bible.
That would be funny as all to read.
These mention cups of tea and Yorkshire puddings, among other things.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy cuppa. Thy kingdom come, thy pudding shall become.
What's all this vibe?
I don't know. They're coming. All
Make
right.
it Yorkshire.
Our Father,
right,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I'm trying to do Yorkshire.
Hey, Father. Hey, Father. Father's in heaven, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be funny. That would be. I would pay. I would actually pay money to see that being made.
But yeah, main thing, don't be a knobhead.
Yeah, but back to the. But yeah, so ultimately,
back to the point.
Ultimately, this scene is the most famous part of the movie because it's basically all over YouTube. Like, people remember the scene, but nobody remembers the actual movie, and that's my whole point with these infamous moments. It's kind of like, you remember that and it sticks in your head, but everything else, it's like, what was the name of that? I remember that one particular bit, but there's nothing else I remember it. It's like with The Mysterious Stranger, for example. I only caught it because I was looking up 10 disturbing scenes in kids' movies, and then that showed up. I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? So I looked it up. I'm like, right, what's the name of this movie? Had to go scrolling around. I'm like, right, it was called Comic Quest. I'm like, Comic Quest, right, okay. Googled it again. Oh, that was just the UK name. The real name is The Adventures of Mark Twain. So I went on Amazon, £5, bought it, watched it. It's a good movie. It's just that scene that really, really gets to people in that sense. And it is kind of a shame because it is a really good, really well done movie. Like, when I say claymation, it's not that the characters are just clay and everything's built around it. Literally everything in that movie is made of clay. Everything. The settings, the backgrounds, everything. Everything's made of clay, pretty much. And it's like, everything's animated in that sense as well. It's like, wow, this is like, I mean, what year did Wallace and Gromit come out? I forget. What year was that? It was, I'll have to look into it, but I think this is before Wallace and Gromit, so...
Probably.
But it is a good one. Anyway. Yeah, sorry about that. But it has been a heavy one this time round, because the thing with controversial stuff is it's controversial for a reason, but it also has that impact in that sense. It's like a lot of stuff. It's not, stupid. It's more just that it's there to, in some ways, be talked about. I mean, if it's intentional or not intentional, I suppose in a way it's like it's there for discussion. And when I talk about infamous stuff, I'm not talking about it to be a shithead and be like, oh, it's gross for the sake of it or something. I mean, when I talk about it, I'm talking that it's remembered for a reason. Like, it's like, I was getting pissed talking about like Cannibal Holocaust, and it's like, yeah, that movie is awful. Don't get me wrong, that whole movie is dreadful, but it's kind of like, I'm glad it got made, so it is never made again, in that sense. It's literally, it's there, so it'll never be made again, in that sense. And I hope it never does.
Oh, yeah. It's like there are people who will try to make something controversial just for the sake of controversy.
26 ago in Ghostbusters. Couldn't resist.
Yeah. And I keep saying controversy. You've been saying controversy all the time.
Yeah.
Controversy.
Whichever.
Yeah.
Controversy.
Thing is about controversy is it gets people talking.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get people talking, that's when change will happen. Well, for better or worse.
It's
but
like,
hopefully change for better. Like the whole thing with Mortal Kombat, it making ESRB and PEGI ratings a necessity. Because, yeah, people were just like, oh, if kids have access to these violent games, it's going to warp their minds. It's like, yeah, that's why we now have an age rating system.
Yeah. So
that we can see what games are going to be appropriate for what age groups. But if kids are getting access to these violent games, then it's because people aren't paying attention to these laws.
Yeah. But also, I also suggest that even now, as we sit here talking about stuff, you might actually argue that we're being controversial in that sense. And if people want to come up and say, we're being dickheads because we're questioning stuff, no, we're not being dicks on purpose. It's that we're trying to actually just talk about these things rather than be told, shut up and sit down and just listen. It's more, we want to talk and to ask questions and discuss things.
I don't think people are going to think that we're dickheads just for asking questions.
Well, in some respects they would.
I mean, some of the views and opinions that we've expressed on this podcast, of course, I know not everybody
will agree.
Not everybody is going to agree. In fact, I imagine that pretty much nobody who's listened to any of our stuff is going to agree to a single word that I say because I'm just a smegging weirdo. But
no, don't worry about that.
But joking aside,
yeah,
it's like if you want to ask us questions about our views and stuff like that, then that's what the comment section is for.
Yeah.
Let's get a convo rolling.
No, I was going to say something else, but I forget.
If you just want to call us dicks and just that's it, then I would suggest, not doing that, because if you're not going to give any context, then what's the point in coming out and saying no?
The thing is, if people call us dicks, I'll simply say, congratulations, you've gone and passed first degree bloody biology. You know what I mean? We're two blokes, so yeah, we have dicks. Congratulations, you passed biology. Move on. You know what I mean? But I was going to say something else, like involving... hold up a minute, I was going to say... Well, my whole point about things like, obviously, the Satan scene from Adventures of Mark Twain and that is, it's supposed to be there for you to remember it. Like, I am of the ilk who think of, like, things like Nostalgia Critic. Like, you remember I think it was the Lorax review, where if you look at the original and you look at the remake, the original is remembered because it's that kind of those little details that make you think more. Like, for example, what's he called? The Onceler. You never see his face. And people have speculated, yeah, you don't see his face. And in that sense, it means anybody could be like the Onceler in that sense. It's like, we never see his actual face. And in that way, we're all part of the same group. It's like, you could be the Onceler one day, or I could be. And in a way, you don't want that, because otherwise you'll end up as bad as he did. You know what I mean? How much he fucked up.
What's a Onceler?
What?
What's a Onceler?
Well, apparently that's the name of the bloke. Well, the bloke who is cutting down all the trees in the Lorax.
Oh.
Basically, and the Nostalgia Critic also said that it's like with his decisions to keep going, he even questions himself sometimes, where he's just like, is this really the right path? But then he thinks to himself, yes, let's keep going. And ultimately kills all the trees because of it. But it's those tiny details where if you don't give someone all the answers, they come back, think about it, a lot more about it. So in a way, it's remembered more because of it. Whereas when you get the remake, they give you all the answers and everything else, so it ends up becoming kind of a forgotten piece of shit, really.
The thing you were talking about with all the trees getting cut down and killed and stuff like that,
yeah,
it reminds me of something else that I imagine to be quite controversial, which was the final episode of Dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Dinosaurs was this quite happy family sitcom about, well, a family of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And yeah, this cute little baby and everything, although he keeps beating the crap out of his dad and saying,
No.
"Not the mama!"
So it was Toad then.
The baby even had its own single.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
The 90s in a nutshell, everybody. Jesus.
But, yeah, in the final episode, there's big overgrowth of plants that is like disrupting the dinosaurs' homes, and that's happened because the company that Earl works for has
Has belched. Yeah.
Sure.
Alright.
The company that Earl works for has actually built factories over the home of these animals that come and eat the plants.
Yeah.
So his boss comes up with the idea to spray the whole world with this vegicide that is supposed to kill off the plants that are bugging all the homes. But what happens there is, well, not a vegicide, a herbicide.
Yeah.
What happens there is it ends up killing all the plant life on the planet.
Everything, pretty much.
So, yeah, things are looking pretty damn bad. Without plant life, there's not going to be anything for all these other animals to eat, so the ecosystem is pretty smegged up.
Yeah, pretty much.
So the boss is like, okay, well, what makes plants grow? Water. How do we get water everywhere? Make it rain. Where does rain come from? Clouds. So we need to make all of these big clouds. So they get these bombs. Yeah, dinosaurs have bombs. I mean,
figure that one out, yeah.
If they can have factories, of course they can have bombs.
Okay.
They make these bombs to put into volcanoes.
Yeah.
And they explode, and all these these big clouds of ash come up. And it's like, yeah, these aren't the kind of clouds that make rain.
They make ash, and it ends up.
And the thing is, but you know what? Earl's boss doesn't give a crap. His actual final line in the entire series is, "The only thing I have to worry about is what I'm going to do with all this money!"
And then he goes on to say, hey, stay out of my shed. No, I'm joking.
No.
Couldn't resist.
No, the whole thing ends on a very...
Somber note.
A very saddening one. Basically, Earl has to explain to his whole family that basically everyone's gonna die and he's partially responsible.
Shit.
And it really hits home when little baby Sinclair says his last line of the entire series.
Go on.
Is like Earl saying we haven't treated our home well, so things are really not looking good. And the baby's just like, are we gonna move? Yeah. Are we gonna move? Well, that's the thing. We don't really have anywhere to move to. This is the only home we've got, and we didn't take much care of it. He does try to
Explain.
He tries to like end things on a happier note. It's like, oh, hey, dinosaurs have been around for millions of years. It's not like we're just gonna disappear.
Wow.
Although that is pretty much what happened to the dinosaurs. I mean, it's like, instead of a meteorite hitting the planet and causing all the climate to change, it was consumerism.
Oh, the greatest evil on the planet. Well, the point is, we'll get into the summary now and then we'll finish up, but the thing is, with things that are controversial or infamous, they're there to be learned, I suppose. It's kind of like you learn them in that way, and it's like, whether for good or bad, they're there to be remembered for one way or another, and it's kind of like, I know I hate it with a passion, Cannibal Holocaust. Like, I like it and I hate it at the same time. It's one of those movies that I hate knowing that I know it, but I'm glad that I know it, so it'll never come up again, if you know what I'm saying. It's weird. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, it is the most disgusting, most horrible movie I've ever watched, and I'm never going to watch it again, but I'm glad I did, because if I hadn't, it's kind of made me think more about how bad could certain things be.
Yeah, well, just think about the horrible feelings that film gave you.
Yeah.
Just keep thinking about them and never forget them.
Well, never forget them, but...
Because otherwise, if you do forget them, you might just end up watching the damn thing again.
Well, either that
because
or I might
those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it.
Exactly. So...
Yeah, I went to say something profound and I go and mess up the line.
Huzzah. But really, though, I mean, these kind of things, they only crop up every once in a while, and it's kind of like, the reason why they're hated or loathed or something, there has to be a reason why it's hated or loathed. So, either, if you are brave enough, I know I said don't watch it, if you're brave enough, try it, but don't expect a good time. This movie isn't for everyone. So, really, though, I suppose what makes things controversial is they're there to be controversial. It's kind of like, for example, The Mysterious Stranger one more time. I think that is one of the most terrifying things in a kids' movie, except other ones. But we're never going to get something like that again. Let's put it that way. It exists purely to terrify you, but you're never going to get it again. So...
I think it also exists to educate you, though.
In a sense. I mean, it is pretty profound when you think about it, but it's one of those that doesn't mind scaring the living shite out of you to give you the lesson.
Okay, my summary, I'm not really all that sure just how much we've talked about controversy in this one, but I think it's like, within reason, of course, we need a little controversy.
Yeah.
Because it brings attention to different issues so that people are made more aware of them and so that we can do stuff about them. Like, was there? It's like there have been violent video games in the past, some of them might scare people and things like that, but
Yeah.
has there ever been anything as over the top as Mortal Kombat before Mortal Kombat?
No. And nothing that ever will be. That's my point. It's like, they're there.
You can't really say nothing ever will be, because as the Mortal Kombat games have gone on, they have been further and further over the top with the violence, but because of the age rating system, they can get away with more, because the intention is that they would be supplied to an audience that is mature enough to handle it.
Well, supposedly, yeah.
I know people bend and break the rules, and then they go and blame the games when bad shit happens. It's like, seriously, if your kid's 14, don't buy him a 15 rated game.
Wait till they're actually 15. Well, it has been a bit of a ride. I mean, we've had a giggle, possibly. We've had a few giggles. We've had a lot of anger, a lot of shocked expressions, mostly from DJ. But I don't know. But at the end of the day, don't become a Mary Whitehouse and say ban this, ban that. Look into it if you want to, and learn from it in that sense, really. It's kind of like, take it as a learning opportunity. If you want to go for it, go for it. If not, then don't. It's as simple as that. Right.
Okay, I can compose myself enough to bring this to a close.
Yeah.
I have been DJ.
And I've been Jake.
And we have been talking bollocks.
Ta-ra. And sleep well, kids.